Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Two Norries podcast. This is a mini podcast. We've no guest. It's just myself and Timmy, and of course, Rowan is on the decks. How's the farm, Tim?
I'm good, James. Good. I'm currently on the healthy eating living at the moment, and I'm actually down a stone since Christmas.
Well done, boy.
I feel a lot better myself. My fitness is getting better. My flexibility. So I feel great. I feel very, very well, and I feel blessed as well.
You look great too.
Yeah. A lot of people have said it to me. Someone from that watched one of the last podcasts said they see a difference from before Christmas to one of the more recent ones there, and that makes sense. So I'm doing something right. It just feels good to. I've nothing in my way now to stop me from eating healthy. So I plan to keep going.
I remember there around. I think it was Mark Tynan's podcast. My sister texts me afterwards. She says, what's your skincare regime? No, I don't have a skincare regime. But even when I look back at that podcast I was training with Shane Sull at the time, and I was watching what I was eating. I was drinking a lot of water, fruits and veggies and stuff like that, and you could actually see it in my skin, in my complexion, And when I'm stressed and I'm not eating well, you'd actually physically know the difference in your face. You're more bloated, kind of more tired looking. So I'm also trying to get back to that. And I started running, as I was saying last week, but road running is not kind to my right knee. And I'm starting to feel a niggling injury there now, and that's kind of, the last thing I want to do is get injured,
Do you know what's fantastic, and I don't think he gets enough credit, is Joe Wicks.
Joe Wicks is great. I was done him all through Mark, the first and second lockdowns.
Yeah. Joe Wicks there every morning. My small fella Jay, he does it. He does it as his exercise for the day. Because they don't really leave the house now for too much, only for a walk or whatever. At the moment. But Joe Wicks is great, and I'm also doing Zoom classes as well online with Mark Tynan, and he free classes there for anybody that wants to do them 3 nights a week. So I do them. Yeah. Shane does free Zoom classes. I think most gyms are doing free Zoom classes. So there's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no excuse for people. And you know what? It's great to be doing them at home, because I'm at home and I'm doing them with Nicole and I'm doing it with the small fella, and there's a bit of a banter and there's a bit of crack. So.
They're not easy, though, they're tough going.
They are tough.
The Joe Wicks one there, he does kind of 20 minutes hit, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. They're hard, but they fly, and you'll feel great after them. But they're not like for the faint-hearted. Yeah. But you can do certain exercises kind of modified that are a little bit easier to do. Yeah. But they're a great place to go. Yeah. But we've got some news as well this week, don't we, Tim?
Yeah, we got some good news. I'll leave you say it.
We're teaming up with the Tortoise Shack, which we're delighted to do. The Tortoise Shack is like an umbrella organisation or website that has some of the best podcasts in Ireland on it. There's about 5, and now there's about 6 because we've joined with them, which is great for us because we're only, we've no history of media or anything like that. We just had an idea and got it going in last summer. And we've been very successful in a very relatively quick time, and become well known. And it was very flattering to get interest from them because they're well known nationally and they're in it a good few years, and in media longer. And we learn a lot from them.
And the teams are quite similar to our own as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's all about social justice, social issues and stuff like that. It's a good fit.
Yeah, there's some great podcasts on it. I was looking at them there myself. I didn't get the time to actually listen or watch anything, but I do intend to do it when I have the time. At the moment, now I'm up to my eyeballs.
I know, and there is some overlap as well in terms of, as you said, some of the topics that we discuss. But we hope that we'll keep our unique, I suppose, perspective and our unique slant.
Do you know, recently there I found something very interesting out. I watched what's the right word? Seminar or course with a guy called Gabor Mate. He's an American. He has that book that you always speak about. What is it?
In the realm of hungry ghosts.
Yeah. And his explanation of addiction was it was unbelievable. It was like one of those awe moments where something came to, and I said, whoa, that's exactly what it is. You know, the medical one is that addiction is a disease, alcoholism, all these different things. But, right, they look at alcoholism as the disease because it's alcohol related, and drugs as a disease because they're drug. But his point is, where's the drug or the chemical effect when it's gambling or when it's porn or something like this, you know? So his point is he just goes into more detail. No, I wouldn't be very, very good to explain it, but he talks about addiction. Anybody that's looking to take themselves away from what's going on, from feeling the emotional stuff, is they're going to search for something to take themselves away from.
And the physical act of gambling or drinking or taking drugs, that's the symptom. That's the physical and visible symptom of an underlying problem. And like if you would have said to me, for years I thought, oh, my problem was with drinking drugs, and that wasn't actually, because I've worked in situations where there's been open drug use in front of me, and I was never tempted, I never wanted it. My problem was never the drugs, it was my relationship with myself and fears and insecurities and all these core beliefs I had about who I was, and you know, poor coping mechanisms. Once you address all these, then you don't need the drugs. You know, so it was never about the drugs. Yeah, I used to use drugs, and a lot of trouble came from using drugs, but that was never the problem. That was just another manifestation of it, you know.
Yeah. He also spoke about ADHD. You know, a lot of addicts, he says, would have ADHD. You know, he actually has it himself, and he's an addict as well. He's a compulsive shopper.
I heard a man about buying fucking tapes and CDs and stuff, hasn't
he
he?
tells a great story about when he was going in to do labour. He was a physician. He delivered babies and stuff naturally, you know, and he's inside in the labour ward anyway, prepping, and Joanna's whatever, 6 centimetres or whatever, I don't know, not know. Next, all of a sudden, he gets this thought into his head. Oh, that new CD's after coming in. I'll drive downtown there and fly, and I won't be long. That was the compulsive thinking, right? Couldn't get away from it. And he says addicts, with that thinking, they find it very hard to get away from that thinking.
Yeah.
So he drove downtown, went into the store, bought the CD, and got caught up looking at other CDs and missed the birth. 2 hours later, like.
It's mad, isn't it?
He was supposed to be there because it was planned that he'd bring the child into
the compulsion.
He was just kept
way stronger.
You know, he said he used to spend thousands a week, you know, on these just CDs.
And you know where he identified his underlying causes were? He was born in Hungary at the time of the Nazis' invasion, and his mother and them, they would have been through concentration camps, and they fled to Canada. So he would have been a baby, and in his early months would have been through all that fear. He says, I would have felt all that fear that my parents had of, you know, avoiding the Nazis and coming through concentration camps and refugee camps, and, you know, emigrating to America and then or to Canada, and then kind of. But he said all that has to have been. I must, like, when you're a baby, you feel the lack of safety, the lack of structure, and, you know, the lack of normality. He says, and that's what he reckoned. He says that's where it came from. That is ingrained in him, and he might be able to remember, like he might be able to recall the event of the war, but his body certainly remembers it.
It's retained in his body, that them experiences, right? With every experience we have, whether it be good or bad, particularly the bad ones, the body stores the emotion of that event. But when we're kids, we don't understand it, but we grow up, the emotion that's still stored in the body, and then the adult doesn't know where it came from because you're after forgetting, you know. And that's why a lot of us still struggle saying, why do I feel like this? Why am I like this? And it's something to do with that. Something may have happened. It could be anything. You could have fell off your bike. That could be a traumatic experience for somebody, you know. But why I am speaking about this man, right, is if anyone really, really wants to get to know the mind of anybody that has an addiction, read his book, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. That and other stuff that he has around the place there, it will explain so much, you know, it will explain that, right, alcoholism and drug addiction are in one sense diseases. They are in one sense in medical terms. Some of the stuff in the medical description are true, you know, but a lot of it isn't, and he explains it so well. Why people use drugs, why people drink, why people gamble, why people why they're sex addicts, all these different things, you know. So
and you could have somebody out there now that has all these issues, and they mightn't be able to remember anything negative or any traumatic experience, but that's not to say it didn't happen. And like as you said, the body, like it goes back to that book that I spoke about, the body keeps the score. The body knows and the body remembers, and when you're in a situation that mirrors that traumatic experience, the body will react, and people can end up having, you know, chronic illnesses like what we were talking with Rebecca Donnelly, fibromyalgia, chronic pain condition through sexual abuse. You know, somebody might not remember even being abused, because when you're a baby and when you're a child, your memories are hazy if you can remember it all. You know, but there's a type of treatment then that people can access that can resurface memories that you think you didn't even know you had, or that you had buried. It's called EMDR. I can't remember what, Roman, you check what EMDR stands for. But EMDR is like, it mirrors your REM sleep, your rapid eye movement sleep, the part of your sleep. Let's say if you slept for 8 hours, maybe an hour and a half of it will be REM sleep, rapid eye movement, where the eyes go back and forth, and that's where the dreams come, you know, and you have all these mad dreams, you know. Well, the EMDRs, you hold two kind of electrical probes in your hand, and they vibrate or beat at different times, and the therapist kind of moves his finger by, or her finger by your eye, and it triggers that rapid eye movement, and it brings back the memories that you've buried in your back of your head. And I suppose the point of it then is, you might think, oh, why would you want to relive all traumas? Because when you relive all traumas as an adult, like if you have traumas buried like that and bad memories buried like that, your reaction to them today will be the same reaction to them when you were a child and powerless. But if you can get a good perspective on the memory today as an adult, you might think, you know what, that was bad, but that I was a child then, I'm not a child now. And you can choose how you react.
You can understand it better.
Can you read that?
Call it out there.
Eye movement, desensitization and reprocessing.
Very good, very good. But that's, and I know people that have went through it. And we've a guest coming up in a couple of weeks. He went through it, and he was a gambler. He said it was last week off camera. But that, and in that book, The Body Keeps the Score by Sylvain de Kock, was telling me about, he was in the book, you know, I keep on saying he's telling me because it's an audio book and I feel like he's talking to me. But there's other types of therapies, but that one was, and the best thing about that one as well was, you don't have, like, for people that have been through traumatic experiences like that, especially ones that make you feel shameful, like sexual abuse, maybe sometimes if a girl or a boy is being sexually abused, they can turn it as if like, oh, that's my daddy and my daddy loves me, I must delay them on type of a thing, you know. These are the core beliefs that the child can form to help them cope with it, you know, and they can compartmentalise that. So then when you meet a therapist, you might be too quick to divulge that, you know. You might feel a lot of shame about your experiences, or maybe like we all have beliefs or things in our heads that we wouldn't tell nobody, do you know what I mean, because they're probably too mad. But with EMDR, you don't actually have to tell your therapist anything, do you know. You can still work through the memories. If he facilitates the EMDR, you can still work through those memories without actually telling them anything. So it's helpful for people that have a lot of stuff, but they're ashamed of it. They don't want to tell anybody, even a therapist.
Are they true religious straight? They're real memories that come to the surface.
Yeah, these are memories that are buried. I'd love for somebody who practices EMDR or to somebody that has been through it to come on and talk to us about it, because I found it fascinating reading that book. You know, I think it's one of the lesser known therapies, and I think it could help a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people that listen to our podcast.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, but
What's the
next
crack,
week,
bye?
next week, there's Dan. Dan's
We've
really
Dan now coming up on Saturday,
Yeah.
and we're going to be putting out content as well for the Patreon, because we're going to try and up our game now for 2021 and put out a little bit on the Patreon, so the people that donate to us and that make it all possible, they get a little bit extra.
Okay.
You know, and also those people, please God, we can do some live shows. We've got some great guests lined up too, but please God, we can do some live shows. The people on the Patreon will get first choice on tickets, and we just want to reward them.
We'll be going to Dublin there shortly as well on a road trip.
Yeah, exactly. We've some great guests lined up in Dublin as well.
Yeah, and there'll be some fantastic stories of people that came through addiction. And what else is there, James?
Mad bastards from Dublin generally, and a very high-ranking Garda.
Yeah,
that I won't name for now, but he's going to come on. He's got a good story too, and it'll be another perspective. But like that, we touch on all these social issues and different perspectives, so we can understand them better, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's even for me on a personal level, just to sit across the table and listen to somebody's story and look at the emotion and just the vulnerability of them. You know, I get a fair sense of gratitude to be actually sitting here opposite of him and to be able to listen to him, you know, and just share my own experience and that's related to theirs, you know.
Yeah.
So, because I think that's very important that we try to relate to people with our own stories, because what that does is it really helps people understand that they're actually not on their own. Things have happened to a lot of us, because a lot of us are caught up in our own heads and we think that we're the worst in the world because we did certain things. This happened to me, I'm bad because I was bad. You know, life is just a mad way of just coming at everybody, you know. And all we can do when we do wake up from whatever adversity we're going through or addiction we're in, when we do wake up, we can start to recover and start to develop ourselves and start growing into that healthy adult. But it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long, long time, and people have to do the work, put in the work and do the work, you know.
But the guests that come on the show here prove like that. Doesn't matter how bad it has been, you can recover, you know. And like yourself, I feel really grateful that every week we get to meet interesting people and have good conversations, and everybody that has come on has been A1, been sound. And as you know, when you see people coming in, sometimes people are very nervous when they come in, but they settle into it quickly, which is testament to us really, because we make them feel at ease. And Robin as well, he's you know, it's just a good vibe to be in, you know, it's just a good atmosphere to be in, and I really look forward to the guests coming up. I wish I could share them with you, but sometimes they stand us up, so I don't want to be giving anybody false hope, like. But we got some great guests lined up for February, March. Please God, then once we get out of level 5, we'll hit the road and we'll make our way to Dublin, Belfast, get a few Norries on. There's a few mad bastards up there too, and
but good stories.
Yeah,
very, very good stories, you know. And we're trying to really get the variety of different stories onto the podcast, because we think it's very relevant for everybody to share their story in some way or another, which is very important, because we're kind of in our own bubble here, aren't we, in Cork? You know.
And we a lot of the stuff in the north, I've never been to the north, and we don't know what it's like. Like Rowan would know more than most, because Rowan's dad is from Belfast, you know, and he would have been up in Belfast in the worst of the times up there. But we don't know what it's like to live in an environment like that. You know, to live like where your neighbours are hostile towards you over the wall, like you hate each other, and so I'd love to hear that perspective of what it's like We actually have a guest coming on next week, in a couple of weeks from Belfast, but I'd love to go to the north as well, do you know. So we've got a lot of things to look forward to, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And listen, we're a young podcast. We
Yeah.
only started when June.
We started in June.
We
We're
started in
30
June.
episodes in.
You know, and the two of us have been very, very busy in the past with education and family and a lot of different things. But I think this year now we are going to step it up a little bit more, and we're going to try to get as much variety of stories out there to people.
Yeah.
So they can relate and associate everybody in some way. And we're just very thankful for everybody that has listened to the podcast, all the nice comments, and not everybody's going to agree with us, and not everybody's going to like our accents.
I don't know how they couldn't like my accent now, to be fair.
You know, but listen, we're not doing this I'm certainly not doing this for any fame or anything like that, neither is James. You know, a lot of people are getting a lot of real help and guidance from this podcast and the guests that have come on, and we just intend to keep going and intend to keep helping as many people. Another point is as well, if like I don't know, we can't answer every I don't like you to be on the Facebook page there, and
I'm trying to get back to everybody anyway, you know. If we haven't, just follow up, you know. But
and I try to get back to people, whoever gets on to me, if they're just looking for some advice in what way to go or where they can get help or whatever. And
but we don't have all the answers either, like, you know. And a lot of people are complex, and what worked for me and you mightn't work for somebody else. And we're not therapists either, you know. We have a lot of lived experience, and we have a lot of experience of helping others, and we have a lot of knowledge, but that doesn't mean to say that we can fix people either, you know. But what we can do is give advice and give people counsel and refer people on to services in their area, and that's all we can do. And a lot of people contact us on the Instagram page and Facebook pages, saying this is their weekly support, this is their weekly meeting, and they tune in first thing on a Saturday morning when they're going out for a walk or at home, and this is their support that helps them sustain their mental health and their recovery through the week, you know. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant, because that's the whole reason we started it. And then there's a lot of people that have no history of addiction or mental health, but they like to tune in because it's just interesting, and we have interesting guests on, and we talk about complex stuff in simple terms that everybody can understand.
Yeah.
So look, we leave it there, and we leave it there, and we thank you all for supporting us again. Thanks for Rowan and Timmy and myself.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody, and don't forget to check us out on the Tortoise Shack. Thanks again to everybody at Tortoise Shack for approaching us and helping us out, and we're looking forward to a long and prosperous and productive relationship and growing the podcast. And I hope that our audience gets bigger outside of Cork. So look, we see you all soon. Take care.
Yeah. God bless.